Started. Okay. Hey guys, Hudson here. I play bass for Nobody. And during this time of COVID-19 and the lockdown, we thought why not interview musicians who would otherwise be very busy. So now we thought we'd ask them what they're doing and how they're doing. And for today's episode, we have Chris Jason. Chris Jason is an amazing guitarist, and he's played for a lot of big music directors. He's played for A.R. Rahman. He plays for Sid Sriram, and he's also played in this YouTube show called Arrive, and he's also wanted for hashtag abuse. Yeah, that's the thing. So hi Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. So before we actually start this interview, I want to get this out of the way. So uh, what hair care tips do you have for us? Because looking at your hair, I'm sure you've got a lot of questions, and probably I've seen in your Instagram Q&A, you get a lot of questions about basically girls asking you what hair products you're using. The nation wants to know, Chris Jason.
I think it's really weird because sometimes the questions also don't seem to be like, out of genuine interest. It's more like, what's your hair care? That kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just shampoo and condition once or twice a week, and then maybe once a month I may just leave coconut oil
Okay.
one night. Yeah. But I say that and people get angry. How can you do that?
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah. But I think that's not the weirdest interaction I've had.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one time. I was like, I finished a show and me and the bass player were just, carrying all our gear and walking back. When suddenly I feel a tug over here, and so then I turn to the side and then I see, and then there's this middle-aged man, and he's just standing there like, someone caught a kid. The cookies are. He's just staring at me like scared, and then I look at him and then he's like, "Mudi nalla irukku." And then he runs off into the distance.
Oh.
So yeah, crap like that has happened. So that's I faced worse.
Yeah. This lockdown has affected a lot of people, irrespective.
Yeah.
So how has this affected you personally?
Okay, so most of my income is through recordings and shows, and most of the recordings that I get are from the Indian film industry, or mostly Tamil movies, but now and then a Telugu movie pops up and other language movies also.
Yeah.
So what happened is the lockdown immediately affected a lot of shootings. So so once the shootings were stopped, then we couldn't even move on with recording background scores or recording music, which is essentially a process that happens simultaneously as I edit of the film and all that is going on. So all, if not most of my recordings have been like indefinitely postponed or just outright cancelled.
Yeah.
And shows I actually had quite a few shows for April, and they all got cancelled almost within. So all of my April shows got cancelled in the first week of March.
Yeah, how did this affect your plans for? You were talking about your plans for this first half of 2020.
Oh yeah, so I was like, 2020 is my year. I'm gonna rock the scene and all that crap. And then I had a plan to release one thing every month, and at least work on it for the month, and at the beginning of the next month put out the thing. And I did it for like 2 months. Okay. So throughout January I worked on the video for my song Back to One. And February 1st I put out that video, and then for the entire month of February I was working on this project called the Ultimate Chennai Guitarist Chill Step Collective, where I got a bunch of guitar players to record over some backing tracks I did, and then mashed it all together into one long track. So yeah, I managed to do those two projects. I had projects lined up till July. The plan was to just produce and put out these projects and then see what would happen. Would there be an audience for the kind of stuff I do? people like it?
Yeah.
What would people think about it? Will I be able to work with, because producing say an entire song or an entire concept of such in a month is not going to be.
Yeah.
It was tricky. So I had to balance the paying work as well as this work, which obviously pay. Yeah. So it was. I was all prepared to do it for the first 6 months of 2020, and then bam, everything is cancelled.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so that sucked.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting at home now and practicing, and yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing in this free time? Because you have everyone's like very free at home. People who are otherwise who have been like very busy doing work. So what have you been doing to cope up with all this free time?
So I started out trying to get a little more practice on the guitar in general, because one really sad irony is that working musicians don't get time to practice. Yeah, they're so busy learning songs for the next gig or rushing to the next recording or whatever. Yeah. They don't get time to practice. And now I've just had time to sit with the instrument, and now I've been I'm really happy with with what I'm working on. What I'm working on is very challenging and it's kicking my butt every day. But then I'm really happy that I'm working on that.
Yeah. So how long do you practice?
Not much actually. I might take the guitar for maybe about an hour or two every day.
Yeah.
But I'm making sure that at least that hour or two is always there, no matter what. So.
So through random hours of the day, you just pick up the guitar.
Yeah, and it also helps that the guitar's outside. For example, my guitar's right here.
Yeah.
So it's just standing there in the middle of the room on a stand, and I just take it whenever I feel like it. Just play whatever I feel like. So it's been good, especially from a writing standpoint. So yeah.
Yeah, inspiration strikes whenever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Okay. Dude, let's talk about your first movie that you played for, Ambala.
No.
So, this meme where the first panel goes, Vishal, now you need to have logic for your movies, and the second panel is like, Vishal, now keep go. Brrr.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So how was that experience?
Okay. So the music director for Ambala is Hip Hop Tamala. And
how do you know Hip Hop Tamala? Is that a question we'd like to answer? Or let's
Hip Hop Tamala was through a friend of mine called Afsal.
Okay.
Afsal, so my brother Kevin, Afsal and Kevin were classmates.
Okay.
And Afsal got to work with Hip Hop Tamala. I guess once he was right out of school.
Okay.
And then Afsal recommended me to meet them, and then we started working on a few smaller projects.
Okay.
A few short films, telefilms, that kind of thing. Yeah, and then they called me to record. On one of the songs for Ambala.
Were you able to catch the movie in the theater or see the audience reaction?
No.
You didn't want to?
I normally don't have the habit of catching movies I played for in the theater.
Okay.
Yeah,
Be humble.
No, it's not that. It's just that I don't know. I've never been much into movies in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah, and then on top of I would like to go and see how it looks on the big screen.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. I just never had that drive to go and watch something just because I played on it in the theater.
Okay.
Yeah. So I only watched maybe one movie, and that was because I became friends with the music director and director over time, and then it was more let's see how it came out.
Do you have the backstory on how the Jeep thing happened?
I actually do. Yeah, I actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the car scene was okay. So I got to know from the music director, and what happened was so the scene where Vishal sits on the sumo, and then the sumo flies in and then lands and things around and all that. So the sumo rising and the sumo descending, that was CGI. Okay. Then the sumo in the air was suspended in the air and moved slowly using a crane.
Okay.
And using CGI they edited the crane out. And then so there was a mount put on these like railway track type things.
Oh,
Not
okay.
railway tracks, but you know, the ones used for trolleys and all that. Yeah. So one of the mounts was put on a railway track which is in a circle.
Okay.
And that mount was a spinning mount. So they place the sumo on the mount.
Oh.
And they'd spin it around, and then it would, just
hit other sumos.
They do that. And the funny part of all this was that our beloved Vishal now was sitting on the sumo throughout this entire thing.
Bro, that deserves. Even Tom Cruise, I don't think would be doing stunts like that.
Oscar award, Putra, trumpet. So that was like crazy. I mean, funny part was that the music director was telling me this like very seriously.
Okay.
And I was like, huh? Real?
Yeah. So let's wait for a special guest to join. We have a special guest, guys. So yeah, it's none other than Chris's best friend and bandmate, Anirudh. Yeah. So he joined.
Hey man.
Yo.
Reenish, why do you look like Chris?
I'm Chris Junior, dude, trying to get his job.
Oh crap! Where have I heard that before?
Where have we not heard that before? Yeah. So,
No,
hi Anirudh, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
How is the lockdown treating you?
Actually, very productive.
Okay. Now you're productive?
Yeah, I'm surprisingly productive now. Like, முன்னாடி வெட்டியா வந்திருப்பேன். இப்போ like I was waiting for 3 months, dude. Then I can't be waiting for 2 more months. I'm like, no, I have to do something. So I've gotten there.
Yeah. The drive is insane, dude. So you guys want to talk about Vaval Brothers?
Yeah, Chris, talk about Vaval Brothers.
Yeah. How do you guys meet?
Yeah. So Chris and I were in a band called the Abishtus.
Okay.
Which
I remember this.
Yes. Now, this is where Chris actually made an impact because he was like, yeah, bro, if you're going to perform about this, I feel that this contradicts my Christian beliefs and I'm not going to do this. And yes, I was very... And he was like, so I'm not going to play for you. And he left. And then we had someone else playing guitar. And that's when I realized that Avistus was not popular because of the stupid shit he said, but because, the band was tight. It hit me very late. So then I went and I told Chris that, yo bro, listen, we'll do something very Christian, but please do this.
Wait, so how is Vaval Brothers Christian? The name as in, how do you guys come up with the name?
Well, I think we were both Batman fans. I think that was...
In Leviticus, the Bible speaks against eating.
Oh, okay. Oh, fine, dude. Let's not go there, Chris. I'd love for you to have a career after this. So. You guys were pretty prominent during the college cultural circuit. So what do you guys do to, do after that? Follow up the college scene.
You aren't prepared for this, right? Shall I take this?
Please. I have no answer.
So I mean, obviously, you see this with a lot of bands actually, not just Vaval Brothers in particular, but you always see a lot of bands be at their peak during the college cultural circuit because culturals are actually like a very big platform for a lot of bands, and the barrier for entry is surprisingly easy. Anyone can come in, and as long as they sound good, they become famous. Yeah. And the thing is, we did actually make a bit of a mark. We won a couple of competitions, and we sang Bob the Builder to 500 people. And
you guys sang Sambar and stuff like that.
Yeah, we did all that. Very,
stuff. Very, very Christian.
Yeah. So obviously following that up would be a little tricky because once you're too old for college consultants, you have the vast expanse of the world and social media to be your only platform. And that's when you realize that having a bunch of screaming college kids doesn't really mean a lot.
Ouch.
And it is very late. We tried 2 or 3 covers. We tried being as wacky as we were in our college days, but that just it was a hard-hitting realization when we realized that we're just trying really hard to be young and be relevant. And Chris
Wait, you
got
guys
a
are
lot
still
of
young,
offers.
dude.
No,
You
we're
guys are
not.
still young.
No,
You're
we're
just
not.
25.
No,
You
I'm
guys
not.
are
I'm
still young.
24. But no, I'm not.
Okay, yeah, continue.
But I'm talking about the stupid young. So you can only pull that off as long as you're genuinely ignorant. And being with Chris has enlightened me so much, and I cannot be ignorant anymore. And that's gotten to the awkward part where we cannot end up, even if we really try hard, we can be stupid, but it's not working out in our favor. So I just thought we do something honest, and so everything I do, I've done a movie and all that. It's just basically Chris and I working and me taking all the credit. This happens. So we are still working on this.
I mean, Mutti was a really fun project, man. I mean.
Yeah, we did a short film. It was kind of funny because we did a short film. I directed it because I wanted us to do music for it. That was the entire reason for me to put in money, organize the entire product, just so Chris and I could sit in the music for it. And if you look at the film,
dude, that's dedication, dude.
Yeah, and the entire film has nothing but just music to it. And
that's just basically the plot for Cats, but let's move on. So Anirudh, what are you doing right now apart from Wall Brothers? And
I'm just writing. I'm doing a few original songs on Instagram because I'm very bored. Besides that, I'm just writing and directing.
Oh, okay. You did a web series, right?
Yeah, I did 2. One is called Cookies. It's Sony Live.
Okay.
I wrote and did music for that without Chris, my first time ever. Because I wasn't able to afford him at that time. Our budgets were like too low. Chris kita கேக்கிறதுக்கு அசிங்கமா இருந்துச்சு. So I did not do that. And the other one was this thing called We Are Pregnant.
Okay.
I didn't direct it. I was in the production side of it. Now doing a few more projects, getting into a Hindi web series and all. I'm Aapki Raincoat Family.
Also, you want to talk about Nare?
Oh yeah. So Chris and I actually did an entire feature-length Tamil film called Nare.
Okay.
That went out really well, actually. I did not expect. I just come up with the tunes, man. I'm not good at the arrangements, and I know that. And so I gave 3 tunes to Chris and said, "Yo, Chris, this is really bad. So do something. Like, just save it because the director has approved this, and I don't like it." And when I come back, and I had fractured my jaw here around that time.
Okay.
So I can't talk a lot. I can't sing. So it just has to be like, sign language with Chris. I used to be like, and all that. And by the time I went to see if I could get like a painkiller, because you can't put a cast around my mouth and I won't be able to do any work.
Yeah.
So by the time I could go there and come back, Chris had actually made the song sound so divine. And I didn't know it was my song, to be very honest. I mean, he does have like this extra ear where he adds a few extra arpeggios for the heck of it. And they are bad and he'll stick by them. But otherwise, it's like, when you have a really nice ear, you just push it. And I think he pushes it at times. But I really don't know how I would do half the things I do in music without this guy. So it's like, bro.
Well, I mean,
we can actually see this. We can actually see this friendship actually blossom on the social media where like Anirudh's constantly searching for love and Chris is shooting him down. If you guys follow them on social media, you would know what I'm talking about. But,
the thing is, a lot is to be said about Anirudh's understanding of Tamil film music, one, and also his, his general sense of melody. I mean, I can't write melodies like that. I can't write melodies for the heck of it. I just now only getting into it and realizing how difficult it is. And I mean, I really felt that in a way we really, when working together, it was, we complemented each other. We were able to bounce ideas off of each other. We were able to be really honest. So if he didn't like one of my ideas, he'd tell me directly. If I didn't like one of his ideas, I'd tell him directly. And our friendship wouldn't be affected because of that.
And it's more often the latter. It's just Chris saying, bro. Yeah, okay.
No, but that's the thing. So just because we were able to have that, that rapport, that
understanding,
and all that, because of that, I really think we would. I mean, see, I don't mind if the music we made is not even being heard by people, but at least we look back and we really had fun.
We like it.
Yeah, we liked it.
We actually did one song for this guy called Saran. Do you remember it, Chris?
Oh, that one.
So it was so weird for us because we were trying. This is how we got Nare, by the way. We were randomly sitting around, and I'm like, bro, this guy's asked for music, and this is the budget. And about payment, and Chris is like, "Illa bro, puridu." I'm like, okay, idu purunda seri, nama work pannalam. And we sat and we tried to write a song for 3 days. 3 full days we tried to write a song, and because we tried to write it, it never came to us. And one day we just met, like we decided not to do anything. We just simply met, and we ended up recording the entire song in just like 2 hours, and it was just done. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a very casual vibe with Chris. Like, at least with me, because I've seen him be very professional around. I've seen him work for BP and all that. He's all very serious, and I feel like, wait, this is not the Chris I know. And he's like, yeah, bro, you like it, all that. With me, he's like, hey, this is nice, rah. Like, you know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
what happened with Nare?
It's called Nare. Thank you very much.
What happened with Nare?
It's actually about to release this Corona time.
It is?
But yeah, I think it will come out around October by the looks of it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Cool.
Or on a streaming service or something like that?
No, it's about who they sell the distribution rights to. And I've not been in direct contact with them a lot because he's making a second film. I've told you about that now. The director, Vivi. So he really likes Chris, by the way. So he had the audacity to ask me if Chris does music. I said no, he does it through me. I'm sorry. But yeah, people just think that because Chris is very silent, he's very talented. Not that way. He's just very talented and he's very silent. It has no correlation.
Nice. Also, Anirudh, Floor Gang.
Oh yeah,
sitting on the floor right now.
To us is
yeah. It's only for elite people. Oh, thanks, Anirudh, for joining us. Thanks for spending 5 minutes of your time. Bye, I guess.
You want to do that again? You want to do that?
Okay, thanks, Anirudh, for joining us. Thank you for, saying a lot of good things about Chris.
Yeah, man, he paid me for that. Okay. Bye, Chris.
Dude,
bye, Hudson.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. So I would like to ask, so you've played for a lot of music directors. So
yeah,
how was it like to play for A.R. Rahman?
Okay, so the one thing that I think really differentiates A.R. Rahman from the other music directors is the scope of the production. Like almost every other case, it's always been like very, it's been like direct interaction with the music director. When you're working for A.R. Rahman, it's not the case that this would be the thing. What ends up happening is there is a big team. There is a big team of programmers. There's a big team of sound engineers. And at least in my case, I tend to have a lot more direct interaction with those guys. And it's always for them. It's always a process of getting their ideas and everything approved by A.R. Rahman. Yeah. So it's more like that, and they pay on time, which I'm really happy about. Yeah, at least for the most part. And so it's really interesting because also since you have different people working there, all of them have like different opinions of music in general and how it works, how to get what you want out of a session musician. Me being the session musician, they have different approaches to all that. So it's really interesting working with all these people, and some of them have also come from KM Conservative. So
that's
a very
school.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's A.R. Rahman's music school.
Yeah, the music school. So so some of them have recently come from there and have joined the team, and so it's like it's a very different experience because. Rather than being like going to someone's home studio or something like that. It like, and let's face it, So rather than being like in direct contact with the music director and just being a very isolated process, this feels like you're a part of something huge. So I think that's
yeah. So you're easily one of the most sought after session guitarists in the music scene. Yeah. It's a compliment, dude. So what advice would you give for like aspiring musicians to make it in the scene, like being a session guitarist or playing in a band?
Okay, what I would want to say for people starting out, do everything. Don't shy away from don't say you won't do certain things. Like, for example, I know people who are starting out who are like, man, this wedding band stuff and all this beneath us.
Okay.
Yeah, and man, even A.R. Rahman does wedding gigs. The only difference is he's playing for the Ambani's weddings and you're playing from, I don't know, Rakesh from Saida Pit.
Okay.
His wedding. I don't know what happened. Anyway, but that's the thing, because how you get your money doesn't matter at a point. Like, for example, like how you will have to find new and different ways to get your money, and it's very important for you to just make sure you do whatever it takes to get the money to get your name out. Especially, there was a time when I was doing a lot of free and low paid projects.
Okay.
And the bad thing was they were free and low paid, and I was a broke college student. But the good thing was I started getting to meet people.
Okay.
And I started getting to record in studios that I obviously could not have been able to afford renting at that time. And I'd go and record in these studios, and if I did a good job in those recordings, the studio engineers would notice. They would take down my number, and then next time someone approached them for a production, and if they asked for a guitarist, the studio engineers would recommend my name. So it works that way. The idea is it's more than being good, more than being skilled, or more than having the best gear. It's just about being there. And I think that's like a very crucial thing you need to practice. So don't shy away from doing anything. If it's a teaching gig, take it up. If it's wedding gigs, take it up. If it's just playing with another singer at a restaurant where only 2 people come in every night, take it up and do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Your crowd, your fame, your audience, your money and all that, it will follow. You just need to consistently put in work.
That's really good advice. You're very active on social media. Yeah. So what are like the few things that you've noticed that musicians do that like very super annoying?
Okay, so Kevin says this very often. The music scene is more seen than music.
Okay.
And he's actually pretty right for the most part. I mean, I've noticed things like this, man. Like, for example, people, those Instagram poll options.
Yeah.
And then people put, "Have you checked out my new song yet?"
Yes or yes.
Yeah, yes or yes. I mean, how overconfident can you get, man? Like.
Yeah.
And then there are people who are like who upload snippets of them maybe playing or practicing or something like that, and then they'll be like, please ignore the mistakes.
Sorry for the mistakes.
Yeah, sorry for the mistakes, and then they immediately say, and then they put in like all caps, headphones recommended for listening to this. And man, if you made mistakes, they're gonna wear headphones and they're gonna listen to your mistakes in HD quality. Like, yeah, are you not considering this when you're writing your caption?
Yeah, I guess that's just insecurity to extent where.
I would say it's insecurity, but I also think it's a feeling of entitlement where people are like, I have done something, now you have to check this out. You're obligated to check this out. You followed me on Instagram, now you have to, follow whatever I do. And I think that sort of following is earned rather than demanded or requested.
Okay.
Yeah, because it takes a long time. It takes a long time before you get good. It takes an even long time before you get good enough to be, good enough to make people who don't understand music like your stuff. And let's face it, not a lot of people in India or Chennai for that matter are very musically educated, except people who are doing music like on a more regular basis. So I think it's very important that we be a little realistic with our social media posts and how
more genuine.
More genuine, yes, definitely. Everyone's always trying to get this very polished, very very awesome looking social media feed where it's always them looking at their best, them looking amazing, them looking great. And I think you don't have to always do that. You can, you can achieve yourself.
Yeah, people wanna see the artist.
Yeah, people want to see the artist, but also there will definitely be a very important time where people will just not know, will just not care about you yet.
Yes.
And let's face it, apparently there's a study that says a human being can only care about a total of 150 people in their lifetime.
Okay.
And here you are like enforcing yourself, like being like, I want to be part of everyone's 150. And that's just not possible. You're not going to be like, you're not going to get completely obsessed with fans. And if your music sucks, that's even worse. It's like, So take the time out, get good, and obviously the fame, the respect, the adulation, everything will follow. And I think we should practice this in our social media also.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That was quite a lot of annoying things that you've noticed, Chris.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about your YouTube channel and the content you put there. So last month you put out the Ultimate Guitarist Chill Step Collection, which has 6.6K views, and we've linked it in the bio, so you guys can go check it out.
Thanks.
Yeah, how was it working with like 30 guitarists? And where did you get the idea?
Okay, so I had actually always wanted to. I really like these long guitarist compilation videos, like the ones Jared Dines puts up. Okay. And I just thought, okay, we haven't done anything like that with our Chennai scene, so it'd be really cool if something like that happened. And then I realized, hey, I could do something like that. And so I also realized I know quite a few guitarists, and I thought, okay, fine, let's just see and see if they'd be interested in all that. And I also realized the project wasn't extremely difficult to do. Yeah. And as far as music wise, I had been listening to a lot of lo-fi chill step music at that time when I was like thinking about it. And then I really like the vibe. I really like the way guitar was used in it. You never hear a lot of guitar solos in that kind of music. But when they're there, it's like really nice, really melodic. Not too flashy, not too over the top. Nothing wrong with that, but it's always nice to hear a relaxing guitar solo for once. So I thought, okay, maybe what if we did something like that, which exemplified that kind of spirit. So so hence Ultimate Chennai Guitarist, meaning at least all the cool Chennai guitarists that I know, and Chill Step Collective. So we tried like a very chill step, chill hop, lo-fi something. Backing track. Something. Yeah, so.
So in one of the comments in that video, there was this comment which said, I can see only a lot of Christian names in so how do you respond to that? I mean, you already did, but you know what? Go ahead. Putting you on the spot, Chris. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. So I come from a church background. Same church as you. Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to say that.
Yeah, so coming from a church background, it's like very obvious that so many people just by the process of being part of a church and just hanging out with people in the church end up picking up a music instrument, or at least knowing how it works or something like that.
Yeah.
So I met a lot of people who are like, hey, this is guitar, huh? How do you play? And then I just show them like.
They ask questions about the bass guitar. Why does this guitar have only 4 strings?
Yeah, things like that. And So they ask questions like that, and obviously, and they're your friends, so you're obviously going to humor them. And eventually, that process keeps on repeating itself, and then before you know it, your friend knows how to play guitar for simple songs.
Yeah.
And I think it's a culture of a lot of churches to have people like interested in music and to develop those talents. And it's I don't see that in a lot of other places. And so that's why you have a lot of guitarists from the gospel scene, and I know people in the gospel scene, and that's why I call so many of them there. I'm very sure this commenter didn't really like realize what was actually the reason for doing this and so on. So once I explained, I think the commenter started taking back a lot of his words.
Yeah.
So also one topic he did touch on was the lack of female representation.
Oh yeah.
I did not personally know any female guitarists at that time whom I could ask. Yeah. So and I just didn't know any, and I didn't really think too much about. I just thought about getting the project out, and there was no one's done something like this in Chennai.
Yeah.
But also I understand that once I did something like this, it will be super easy for people to just look at it and find things that they didn't like about it, which is perfectly fine. But obviously, I would not know that these people had an opinion until I put out my project. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So how were you able to promote this? Because there were a lot of people involved. So I'm guessing you had like a strategy, or
Okay.
How do you go about promoting the video?
Okay, so I tend to have I try to keep a very short time frame for promoting my videos. Some people would prefer to have a longer time frame, but I just prefer to make a lot of noise for a few days and then go silent. Which is not the best strategy, but it works for my lifestyle. So I'm just going to do that. I keep doing that. So what I decided to do is I decided to shoot one promo video where me and a friend from church, Anita Esther, we just shot like time-lapse clips of a guitar with various monuments and landmarks of Chennai in the background.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
Yeah, so we just did something like that. Then I also had a friend of mine named Susanna Eben. She's a graphic designer friend of mine. We've been working on she does the design for all my projects. So she designed small posters for each guitarist saying, like for example, if Kevin Jason was a part, so she'd have a picture of Kevin and then be like, Kevin Jason joins the Ultimate Chennai Guitarist. Yeah. So what we did was we made one for all, so 30 guitarists were there, including me. We made it for 29 guitarists. And when I put out the artwork for the project, the exact minute I put out the artwork, all these 29 guitarists also put out their poster. So so I plan to put out the poster at 6 p.m. and I asked all the other 29 guitarists to put out their pictures at 6 p.m. And we all put all this content out regarding one single thing at 6 p.m. And I think for at least 2 hours, everything that all our mutual followers could see was just posts relating to this. So it got a lot of intrigue, and I think it worked because within that day, my follower count shot up by 200 people.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that was really good that we worked out that.
Okay, let's move on from that. And so, Chris, what are the top 5 epic live shows that you've witnessed?
Top 5 epic live shows. Okay, this is a fun one. So my top show, which I've seen, was Anderson .Paak, and both of us actually went to watch that show.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
it's top 1 for me. So
yeah, so I didn't know a lot of Anderson .Paak music going into it. I just know the hits, and I didn't listen to the entire thing. But then the energy, man, the energy and how tight the show was. They seemed to have planned the gaps between the songs and all that really well. It just felt like a, 1.5 hours of partying. And the fact that...
A well-produced 1.5 hours.
Sorry?
A well-produced 1.5 hours.
A very well-produced 1.5 hours. And I think that's the thing, because there was a big takeaway for me, because I know, like, I played a lot of shows where between one song and another song, there'd be a lot of dead space where the frontman would just be like, hi guys, that kind of thing.
And then you can see the bass guitarist leaning in and like, what's next song?
Yeah.
What scale are we doing the next song in? Yeah.
I may not know of that. So so you have that kind of thing happening, and then these people are just, for 1.5 hours, they're just like knocking your socks off. And I think that was like a really good, like a really eye-opening show, and it was extremely fun. So that is great. That's number one. Number two would be Sean. So we last month again, both of us we went and watched Sean. So we have a group where we plan maybe 4 to 6 of us just.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is, if anytime any announcer, if there's a show, we would just suddenly call each other up and then make a WhatsApp group, and then just book it off right then and there. So that's worked out for us.
So Sean was amazing, man. This was like the second show of their Indian tour. They were supposed to do 4 shows, but then they cancelled the third and fourth show because they got sick, and then the whole coronavirus situation started escalating at that time. So it was good that we got that show, and we did.
Yeah, definitely.
The show was tight. The band was extremely tight. I couldn't believe that a band played almost exactly note for a band like that, which plays like such intense music, was able to reproduce all their music note for note and very tightly, without a metronome, without backing tracks, without all that crap.
Yeah.
They just nailed it.
That was insane.
Yeah. And I mean, they weren't much of a... They didn't talk too much to the audience and all that, but then the fact that they were just able to like really go crazy, and I really like a lot of Sean songs, so I just ended up singing along to them in some way or the other.
You mean just the one song that we sang along?
I mean, that was the one song with lyrics, but then there were so many instrumental songs. I just Anyway, so then another show would be Jacob Collier. Ooh, Jacob Collier again, we were for that show.
Yeah, bro, that was insane. That was insane.
Jacob Collier was crazy. Jacob Collier just blew my mind, dude. And the fact that the entire crowd was of musicians.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and they were all so happy throughout the concert. But once the concert was over, it hit everyone that, man, we are never going to be able to play like that ever in our lives. So there's a collective gloom that filled the hall. And Jacob Collier just is like, I expected it to just have, too many notes, and I like too many notes. But then the energy was insane, and his band.
Dude, he was running around.
Yeah, he was going around throwing the tambourine and.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then his band is tight, man. Like Maro, Robin Malaki, Christian Newman, they're all like super tight.
And I'm also glad we caught them during Jesse Volume 2, because I loved that album. Yeah, so.
Nice. So then recently I got to watch Sungazer.
Adam Neely's band.
Adam Neely's band. Yeah, so Sungazer.
If you guys don't know, Adam Neely is a YouTuber who does a lot of music-related content. You guys should go check him out.
Yeah, so I got to check. So me and Kevin went, and we got to check Adam Neely, and he has a friend called Shubh Saran.
Okay.
And so they kind of share band members. So Shubh Saran and Sungazer were like 2 different bands. So Shubh Saran was more of a guitar band experience, which I really liked. Like more of a guitar fusion, like jazz fusion kind of thing. And Sungazer was just like electro jazz.
Yeah.
And it was just like a wall of sound throughout, and
that's crazy, man.
It was like really nice. It was really nice because I mean all these guys I mentioned were all foreign guys.
Yeah.
And they all tend to like almost always like blow your mind with the kind of music they're playing, and it always makes you realize, okay, man, we are nowhere near this. Yeah.
Bro, let's not let's not get there. Let's not go there. Okay, so you wanna continue on with this?
I mean there are other shows, but yeah, I think I will.
What about FKJ, bro?
I didn't watch FKJ, bro.
Oh, you were not there?
I was not there.
Okay, let's cut this out. Just kidding. We're going to keep this. Yes, we have another guest who's going to join us right now. Dude, Chris, it's gone for 45 minutes, bro.
Huh?
Bro, it's gone for 45 minutes.
Oh crap! We'll cut it out, huh?
No, I think we'll keep it.
Oh crap! Okay, I mean it's quarantine, man. People will watch long content also.
Yeah.
Is it because I'm talking too much?
No. Go ahead, dude. So, guys, we have another special guest joining us. Once she joins, admit.
Please enable video. Thank you.
And audio.
And audio. Thank you.
We should do a spot the difference, dude, between them. Hey! Hi! Hi, Susanna. How are you doing?
Hi, Hudson. How are you? I'm good. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. How's the lockdown treating you?
Very bad. Horrible. Let's just not go there.
Okay. So, if you guys, I would like to introduce Susanna. She's a graphic designer and an architect. She does most of the posters for Chris Jason. She's done posters for his single Heaven's Melody, Back to One, and creatives for the Chill Step Guitar Collective and his online classes. So I have one question for you, Susanna.
Please.
And Chris has told me you're gonna rip this question. So how is Chris Jason as a client?
Ayyo. So you're an artist, so you have this range of clients where you pray that you don't get them, right? The different types. Chris has all of them.
Ouch.
So he's the type of client where he wants something, but he has absolutely no idea what he wants. He has no vision, and you tell him, okay, this is what I have in mind. He's like, no, dude, I don't want this, dude. Then what do you want, dude? I don't know, dude. That is Chris Jason.
Chris, this is your turn to defend yourself.
No, he can't do that.
He's not allowed to do that.
No, my artwork is printing. If I say anything, gone. File deleted.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet? How did you get to start working?
Oh no, let's not talk about that. Oh crap. Oh, no.
We are both products of engineering college.
Oh.
The same engineering college.
Yep.
Okay.
With no idea why we even went there. That is the basis of our bond. Why did we go to college?
Yeah. The only thing
I guess.
that's the only thing maintaining this friendship now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's shared trauma, bro. So I think you guys will be friends for a really long time.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah, so I have a file in my desktop called Chris Jason. The initial files will be Chris Jason, Back to One, Chill Step compilation, and then it goes down to please die, I will kill you soon, stop harassing me.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes down to that. So that's how Chris is, even though he doesn't know what he wants.
Chris, please get an idea of what you want.
She made a poster for the guitarist compilation and misspelled guitarist. What do you do there?
I will explain that also to you. Okay? Because I was at 2 a.m. And so for Back to One, he sends me the track and he says, dude, the track is amazing. Now that I'm like, okay, Chris, how are you visioning it? Okay, what is your vision? He's like, I have no vision. I'm like, no, dude, there should be something behind. No, you just like put random notes to it, something. Then he explains something to me and I come up with something. 1 week, I know I out of nothing, I come with it. I sent it to him. He's like, hey, no, dude, this is not what I have in mind. I'm like, what do you have in mind? That I don't know. And then, Back to One was a lot of work, and then it comes out, and you would have seen the end product. I sent it to him, and he's like, from the third picture, can you cut off the bottom half? And the first picture, can you cut off the top half and make the three look like one, but three? This is the exact word.
Dude, I am not.
I don't know what to say, dude.
I'm a musician. I'm not a visual artist, man. How am I supposed to visualize?
He said it has to be 3 but 1.
Yeah, you're a Christian. You know what that means.
Oh, nice. Susanna, thanks for joining. So, do you have anything going on right now that you would like to talk about?
Well, right now I am doing stuff for Chris Jason. Okay. He wants meme-worthy posters. That is his only description. He wants meme-worthy posters. So that's what I'm doing right now.
So
that's about it. And I am an interior designer by profession, so I do that.
Okay.
I have one last thing to tell about Chris. This I have to tell. Just one last
thing. Go ahead. Yeah, just.
We were finishing Back to One, and it was at 2 a.m. I'm sitting on my terrace because Mogopair has brilliant network. And I told Chris, let's finish this off. We have mails and pictures going back and forth. He's like, move it 2 inches, move it 1 inch, move it 3 inches. And then suddenly he's like, hey, I got to go. And he cuts the call and goes. I'm texting him, I'm calling him, he's not reachable. For like an hour later, at 3 a.m., he comes like, hey, dude, I was eating and watching Netflix.
Bro.
I was hungry. What?
That's...
You misspelled guitarist.
You cannot.
I'm gonna pray that Susanna gets better clients, because that's the only thing I can do.
Any client would be a better client.
Do your clients pay you?
Thanks, Susanna, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hope you have a really good time and be safe.
Thank you. Same to you.
Yeah.
Go already.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris Jason. Thank you for joining us. We planned this for 10 minutes, and this has gone for really long. And I hope people watch. But imagine we are in the same room right now, and imagine we have a really huge budget, and there are 3 cameras. This camera. What is going on in your life?
First of all, I should have cleaned my room. And second, so I'm doing something currently now called Lockdown Lessons with Chris Jason, where, this is my only source of income at the moment. But yeah, it's good. And what I do is every week I announce a different topic, and based on the topic, people contact me and ask me if they can join the workshop. The workshop can be anywhere from 3 to 5 days, and it'll happen throughout the week. And we just go really very in depth on the topic. Like, for example, the first workshop I did was the topic was just on strumming, and we just talked about strumming. We talked about the theory of rhythm in music. We talked about locking with metronomes and locking with drums and all that really good stuff and all that. So I like this format because it's only 3 days per topic, and we can go really in depth on a topic, and it's also a rotating crowd. So some people stick for the next workshop. Some people don't come in until 2 workshops later. So a lot of serious musicians tend to join because serious musicians tend to be more more clear about what kind of topics they want to focus on. So so they join, and then we do slightly more than just beginner. And since it's one-on-one, also it's a little more fast. It's not one-on-one; it's a little more fast-paced.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's like.
If people want to contact you, how would they get in touch to join the class, join the lockdown lessons?
Okay, so I mostly advertise on Instagram and Facebook, more actively on Instagram. So I think the best way to reach me would be my Instagram handle, Chris Jason. So
so Chris Jason's socials and his YouTube channel and link to the Chill Step Guitar Collection video. Everything is we've linked in the bottom. We've linked in the description. Thanks, Chris, for joining us. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.
Also, nobody loves you. Hashtag.
Cool.